Okay, so what I'd like you to do is go to our Twitch channel, and I'll just share this screen live there. And you haven't, I'm just guessing, you haven't like personally gone in and filled out Dojo 2.0 for yourself, right?
No, you got that correct.
Okay, cool. So I'll just, give us a tour here, and then hopefully the dream will be that after this you'll get into it.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so right, the tournaments, dude. So, I think one thing about maybe this is just myself, but also chess improvement in general, is there needs to be like, instead of it just being some number, like I want to be back at 2,500. There has to be some narrative, right? So now I'm
Right.
over 50. I have the narrative dream of playing in the U.S. Senior Closed,
Right.
and that can happen two ways. One, I get my rating back up, which is really crashed, or I qualify. So there's two tournaments to qualify from, and I'm going to play both of them. One is this U.S. Senior Open, and that's going to be in late July. And then right after that, at the U.S. Senior, is this Irwin Tournament of State Champions.
Right.
You know, so when I was a kid, I played in that Denker tournament.
Yeah, I,
And
I remember that. I got in once.
nice, nice. That was a really good time. I won that thing twice, and it was like it's just a cool thing. I met a lot of cool people, and I'm hoping like, recreate that. In addition to maybe I have to win one of those tournaments, to
That's fun.
qualify.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I mean, obviously, you deserve this, but it is good to have something concrete to shoot for. So,
Right.
are those senior tournaments in
Exactly.
Illinois? Where are they?
One is in Illinois, and then the next one is in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
All right, toward the Midwest.
Yeah, I've never been to Grand Rapids, but it's always at the same. The second one is always with the U.S. Open. Right, the U.S. Open
Okay,
in Grand Rapids this year.
that should be fun.
So, dude, that must mean that back in the day, when you qualified to do the Denker, it's like the Shahadas failed that year, and you passed them
I
up.
think Greg didn't play for some reason. I mean,
Okay.
first of all, we went to the same school, so we weren't allowed to play each other.
Oh, okay.
He was also a year younger than me.
Uh-huh.
He'd probably remember the exact circumstances better than I would, but somehow I wasn't the state champion, but I wormed my way in. And I was pretty good. But yeah, I was the second or third choice.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, that was a really cool experience, dude. You came from a state with a lot of chess. I didn't, and so just getting to go and play that event and then U.S. Open at the same time, dude, was fantastic.
Yeah,
And
agree.
it's amazing actually to think back on it, where there was no internet chess, and it was just like I didn't have that many opportunities to play strong players.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, so let me give you a tour of this amazing site here, and we can just chit chat as we're going to about whatever we want to talk about. How about you, actually? Actually, let me ask you before we really start. Last time I saw you, you were on a mission to play, I think, 40 games a year, and to make just general progress using that kind of playing schedule. Has that worked out? Or to what
No
extent?
and no and no. Yeah, I was playing quite frequently for a while. That part I had reasonable success.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I was basically trying to play once a month. My goal was 50 games a year. But then I'm trying to finish up this book, and that deadline got to crunch time. So I've put aside. I'm not even like playing Blitz I barely even playing Blitz online. It's kind of the biggest. I mean, I'm still thinking about chess all the time, but
Uh-huh.
in terms of like trying to get better, it's the biggest break I've really taken. I'm not doing much of anything, and my book it should be done within a month, and I'm actually missing it, so I hope to get back. So But yeah, also I was, like you said, I was losing rating. I mean, the kids were, it was just tough. I felt like I was getting better and losing rating, or at minimum, not getting worse, you know? So yeah, that part was a bit frustrating, but I mean, it doesn't bother me too much. It doesn't like dissuade me from playing or something. It does mean like I like goals. I don't know what my goal will be when I come back, but I do want to start playing again.
Dude, well, tell us and everybody, remind us what's going on with your book, man. Like, what is it
Yeah,
about and what's the
so it's
status of it?
sure. So it's called Perpetual Chess Improvement. And it's basically a distillation of all of the chess improvement advice that's been given on the podcast, both by adult improvers and by, accomplished players and trainers like yourself. It's broken down by subject. So I have what I consider to be sort of the absolute essentials of what you need to do to get better at chess. And then I sort of adjudicate a bunch of debates, like is speed chess good for your chess? Is it not good for your chess? Do you need to be doing blindfold exercises?
Uh-huh.
And then I talk about like away from the board stuff, like how to have a healthy lifestyle, how to be a habit grandmaster like Neil Bruce, you know, uh, how to approach studying, like not how not what to, well, there's stuff about what to study too. I have a chapter about books that you're in. Um,
I'm in it.
yeah, of course you're in it. I was going to ask you, do you, because so I tell the story about, well, you're in there a couple times. I tell the story about the pages of notes in the section about analyzing your game. So I was going
Okay.
to ask you, do you have pictures of your legendary notes?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Would you
sure.
like to, do you think you could send me one or two?
Yeah, dude. I could send you some. And, one thing that if you Google me and Shagar Shah,
Uh-huh.
that guy, so I had published on my website. I used to have a website. I don't really do that anymore. But I did. I had the website partially because people were asking me, dude, well, what does the notes look like? This is before the dojo and all this stuff. Before we had dojo training program, I should be clear. And so I was like, I put like some pictures of that on my website. And for the most part, I think it would have been kind of unreadable. But anyways, so Shagar Shah wrote a article and he transcribed, dude. He transcribed with the PGN. I didn't even send it the PGN. I just, had pictures. And so my writing isn't terribly hard to read, but I didn't put it up there with the thought that someone was just going to read it just so they could get a takeaway of what it kind of looked like. Anyways, so you could steal that from his site too, and that also the PGN is there.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, I'll steal that for sure because I need images and I need puzzles. Like that's kind of the writing is pretty much like I can revise endlessly, but it's more or less done.
Good,
Um,
dude. Good. Yeah.
so that's where I'm at. And the other part that you're in is the story you told when I interviewed you in 2017 about you giving a kid a book as a prize. Because I of course have a section about books where I
Yeah.
mention my book recommendations,
Yeah.
but I also the sort of theme of that chapter is our books becoming passé.
Right.
So I use your story in that.
For anybody listening, the point of the story was the kid. I gave him the book, and he said, "This isn't very user friendly." That was about
Classic.
10 years ago. The kid told me that, so that was
Yeah, he was ahead of his time.
I mean, it's already the case that yeah, it's just a different world. Actually, I'm reading this other interesting book right now, nothing to do with chess, where it came out I think a year or two ago. It's about the idea of weird culture, weird being Western, educated, industrialized, rich, and democratic. So our culture, right? And one of the theses that it has is that when we started reading as a culture, it changed us in a brain kind of way, in that it really made us develop a certain area of the brain. And it's like and one of the things that I really agree with it is now when we're moving away from reading, and I'm sure you're seeing this in your own kids where they probably want to be with the screen as much as possible, that it's just not a reading culture anymore. And that was so much of what, when me and you were kids, it was so much of the whole experience of being human was reading.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's going away, even though like it helped. It's so fundamental to everything about our culture, reading.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. My son is 10 and he's a very curious kid. Like I think he has a reader's personality, but all he does is watch YouTube.
Right, dude, right. And I've kind of embraced it too. I've just been I was interested in writing for a long time, and I wrote the chess novel, and a lot of people are like, "Dog, you need to write. You might encourage me to write." But it just feels like I don't have an audience there, that whereas if I do a YouTube video, oh my gosh, I just got people, I got loads of eyeballs. I can connect to people. And that's the dream of writing or doing anything, is you're going to connect to somebody, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have some audience for sure, but I get your point, especially when you think about it in terms of like the ROI, like in terms of the time you invest.
Right.
Like, this book took me a long time to get moving on just because I sort of had to come to grips with the fact that, this is just something you're going to spend hundreds of hours on and, don't expect to make any money,
Right.
et cetera. But like once I got to that point, I'm loving the process. But yeah, it's a big endeavor.
Yeah. One thing too, I just want to say about writing before we go on is, I do write in the notebook for the chess. I do the analysis, and just the act of writing, which slows you down, even if you're not going to edit it. Right? When you edit it, it's like another level, but just slowing you down a little bit so that your thought process is just not so fast. Whereas I'm just talking, I'm just saying whatever comes out of my mouth, right? Whereas writing, dude, there's that first slowing down, and then there's the editing process. So it's like, I was thinking about it this morning, actually, when I was doing my notes. I was analyzing my own games this morning. Is that it's a kind of entish, when you're writing. It's a fundamentally just different way of talking, right? Where you're just slowing all the way down, or slowing a lot down anyway, to get a higher quality of thought and expression into your words. Anyways, that's over. That's over, Ben. I hope you get maybe 1,000 readers, boss. That would be it.
Exactly.
That would be good. Jamil, thank you for the gifting the subs, man. That's really great. Okay, so one thing maybe then would be interesting when I go show you everything that's in here. Now, just to be clear, I've given Ben a tour of Dojo 1.0, but one thing in terms of Ben's book that's coming out would be interesting when I show him everything that we have, if he feels intuitively, based on his research and talking to people about chess improvement, that we have done something wrong or we're missing something. I'd be interested in that kind of critique. Maybe he'll put us in the book. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe he'll put us in the book. Okay. So, the way to introduce this, I think, Ben, is that one thing that only hit me after we created Dojo 2.0 was that Dojo 1.0 was a phase of early adopters. And a story that I love is that I actually got from friend of the dojo, James Altucher's podcast, who interviewed the guy who did Waze, who created Waze, was at the beginning of Waze. Waze is the app, if you don't know, which was created before Google Maps helped people with driving. It was before that. It was like an app to figure out what the traffic situation was. At the beginning of Waze, there wasn't even a map, dog. There wasn't even a map. It was just people calling in like certain traffic incidences, and there was enough people frustrated by traffic that they created this site. It was user-driven, right? It was like the site was created, user-driven, terribly uncomfortable to use at the beginning, right? And it was only later when they could develop things like the map and yada yada, that it became essentially this epic app. And then, of course, Google Maps, I feel, kind of stole it. I use Google Maps when I'm driving like every other boomer out there, right? Anyways, so the story of the Dojo 1.0, 2.0 is 1.0 was kind of hard to use. It was unsatisfying. And and clicking off the boxes did not have the same psychological joy as I think it now does. Okay, but here we go. Let me show you. Why don't we do this? You would be, I think, in the 2,000 to 2,100 cohort. So let's go look at that cohort.
Okay, and are we in the Discord here? Is this what?
No. This is the website, my friend.
Okay.
This is the website. That's right. So one thing that was hard is with last time in Dojo 1.0, we had a Google Doc, we had the Discord, we had the site, and it was all over the place. And now we still have the Discord to talk about stuff, but everything is basically centralized to this site that I'm going to now give you a tour of.
Okay.
So we have 21 people in your group. These are people that are active within the last month, pretty much. So these are very dedicated individuals. And I'm going to do this. I'm just going to click on someone kind of randomly. I have no idea who this person is. Okay, Thomas Nielsen. Okay. And then I can click. This is my favorite part, is the activity. Oh, boss. So here you can see what they've done. And this dude has done basically all games and analysis. Games played, annotated games, postmortems.
That's cool.
And then we'll see in some other people that there's a time breakdown. I'll show that later. So this dude hasn't filled that out yet. And then let's see if dude has some games. Dude has some games. Okay. So one of the things that was certainly true for 1.0 was that the big, beautiful surprise was that people, because the analysis was getting published, even if it was just on our database, that they were taking more care to annotate their games. And so in general, what I found was almost every annotation was really well done. So as a kind of test case, I'm going to click on one of these. We'll see what level of annotation we get. Maybe it won't be great, but just in general.
I mean, given what I've seen from this guy's profile, I feel like it's going to be good.
Let's see. Okay. So there's his annotations there. And I would say if I was going to critique these annotations just on a glance, there's a little bit too much gobbledygook variations and not enough eval. But
like
still,
Kasparov.
But still, he's got some. Let's say I click through this variation. That's a good evaluation. That's a good evaluation right there. Yeah. Or if I click on this one. Yeah. You could also take with the bishop too. But I agree with the evaluation. And dude said it's preparation. And then this is an old time variation. Yeah. Okay, good. Good. So one of the first beautiful things about the site is now we have this game viewer where the database is you pull up your own games, anybody's games, the cohort games, all that stuff. Actually, here's an interesting thing. If I go, so here's our games viewer, and I can search by cohort. I would go to where your cohort would be, and I search. And here I got 56 games by people in your cohort. Let's just click on one.
Pretty cool.
Oh yeah, this just on a glance is what I'm talking about for annotations. We have variations, evaluations, words. Oh, this is very well done. This is very well done, dude. Oh wow. Okay, this is actually one of the better ones. I'm gonna feature this game. So games that I feel like are really well annotated. I honestly normally I would go through it more, right? But just looking at it, dude, this is real annotations. Oh, wow, dude. Yeah. Now, I don't know what kind of conclusions you came to in your book, but for me, this is the heart of chess improvement.
Yep, that's in there.
Is that when you can write about your own games and think about the decisions that you made. Damn. And this has been the surprise. Let's just look at the... Oh, yeah. Very nice. I would call this winning for white, but still, I understand it's still got a road to go here. Yeah, dude. Okay. And that's been, I would say, this is not just Dojo 2.0, but 1.0 as well, is this amazing thing has just been the quality of the annotations. Because Ben, when I've coached for a long time, and the problem has always been getting my students to really do thoughtful work. And I think my feeling on this has been that they didn't do that great of a job just because it was just like meant for me. They were like, me and Kraai are going to talk about it anyway.
Right.
Whereas this guy's like, oh, well, other people in my cohort are going to like check it out. And it's not, it just forces you to be a little clearer about what you are saying, right? So it's not just for you. It's like by forcing yourself to be clear to other people, you get this whole phenomenon of clear writing equals clear thinking. Yeah. Amazing, dude. And that's been a true surprise, man. I did not expect that. In fact, I was pessimistic. I was like, really, Kraai, are you going to have them do this? Are they really going to do it? You've never had success as a coach doing this. So why do you think, buddy, it's going to work now? I had that pessimism running through my head.
Now, let me ask you, Jesse, because this is in the book. I talk about the notebooks. So Jesse, for people not familiar with the backstory, I mean, not only, probably most of you know, but I mean, not only did he advocate annotating games, but by pen and paper, sitting there pouring, bleeding on the page.
Yeah.
So do you still say people should do it by hand?
I think, what I really do say, the only thing I really stress is that you do it first without the computer.
Yeah.
And I think by hand, it's, especially for younger people, it's just hard to even imagine. Right. I think this person, though, I can feel maybe they're writing it on a computer. The problem about doing it on a computer, for me, and I think others, is like the distraction level is just too high.
Right.
I start looking at this, that, and the other thing. Some little bling thing comes, and then I've just lost another half an hour, and I don't get back to it. So it's really hard to find that level of focus. Whether they could write it in a variety of ways, but I really do think whether it's pen and paper or some other medium, that if you're away from the computer and you have a board in front of you, that's really where it's at.
And you've got a question here in the chat from Game Storming Twitch.
Let's read it out loud. From the Discord, I'm struggling to have games with my same cohort. Same for finding a sparring for endgames. There is probably a new tool on the site I'm not yet able to use to schedule with others. Well, let's talk about that then. So the other cool thing we've got is now we go calendar. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. So, and we're just going to go with the cohorts just around you, Ben. Okay? And one problem actually with the dojo is that we don't have enough players that are a little higher. So actually here, this is a bad advertisement. We only have one person, but let's click on it. And Richard is available there to do a classical game. Right? So that's what he's showing is available to do.
Okay, yeah.
And I don't know where Game Storming Twitch is from. And let's go to a different cohort group and just see what we've got. Let's say here. So here you can see a bunch of people. This is for basically 1100 through 1400, which if you were going to spar would kind of be the group you'd be looking for. And let's just click one and see what's going on. So John is looking also for a classical game. Let's click another one. So, and Flaming Cobra here, opening sparring, middle game sparring, end game sparring, right? And then, yeah, really nice. Is this the same person? Let's just check. Oh, this is Omar, dude.
Oh, what's up, Omar?
Yeah, it's Omar, man.
You finally got him to join, huh?
Well, interestingly, I think he just posted actually on Twitter that doesn't have the money for a coach at the moment, and is really saying, look, I got to get the reps in with the dojo. So I think he's going to go for it now.
Oh, cool.
And by the way, one of the key things about the dojo for me was, especially after the chess boom happened, I had so many people writing in and being like, dog, can you teach me? And I was like, A, I don't have that much time, and B, I'm too expensive, right? So, and I feel bad, honestly, whenever I give a lesson because it costs too much. Whereas this, I tell people, and I believe this is the truth, is that if you focus on the program, it's better than lessons from me, right? Because the act of you doing the annotations, yes, I can review them with you. Yes, I can give you some feedback when we do the lessons. But if you just follow the program, oh man, that's where the improvement's going to be at. Okay. Yeah, so Omar's here, ready to do some sparring. And one of the things that happened actually in 2.0 is we had on the scoreboard, we had like 17, maybe I think 2,000 people, but a lot of them were kind of dead. Like you were a dead body. You were a dead body on that old Google sheet.
In Pump Up Your Rating, he calls the guys who still play. He said it's like in Sweden, they call the people who still play but don't do anything anymore. They call them mummies.
Mummies.
Yeah, I'm a mummy.
But let me go to the scoreboard then. Let's look at Omar's scoreboard. I think he's 1,100, and let's go just take a look here for a second. And so first of all, let me show you one of the coolest innovations is this dojo score. So in addition to, obviously, the main thing is to get your rating up, right? Sure. But in addition to that, there's the dojo score. And if we go and stock Omar, let's go see if we can stock Omar here.
So how long's he been a member?
I think he's been a member for a while, but I think he just got serious now.
Okay.
And I think maybe Omri is Omar. Uh-oh. I forgot what his handle was.
I'm surprised that it's not Omar or Von Doom.
That's right, Omar. What's going on, buddy? Where's Doom? I want a Doom, man. It's a little bit embarrassing. I could go back, actually. I'm so interested. All right, I'm going back. I'm going back to the calendar. And
or if anyone in chat remembers.
Or if anyone in chat remembers, yeah. But I think it was over here. And that's not Omar. Wait, maybe it wasn't 11. Maybe it was a different one. I had these ones.
Yeah, it was around here.
This is all John. Omar Mills. So
there we go.
He is in 12 to 13. That is an example, actually, Omar, if you were listening someday, buddy, of you putting yourself into a higher cohort than you should have done. This is a common problem we have. Because he's not at 1,200 USCF yet. And 1,200 there is a FIDE rating. So that would be more like 1,300 USCF. Okay, but let's check it out. Let's click him. Pop. Okay, now we'll go pop. Oh, he hasn't done anything yet. So he just started, and there's his Chess Von Doom up there.
Oh, okay, he is Chess Von Doom.
Yeah. But he was I was looking in what would have been the appropriate cohort. Omar. Yeah. Omar.
Rookie mistake.
Well, I think somebody wrote to me recently and was like, why is it a big deal if I put myself into the wrong cohort? It's like an aspirational cohort. And the problem really, it's not just about you, it's about the other people.
I was thinking the same thing. This is how societies break down, the collapse of institutions.
That's right. So, yeah. By the way, look at this. Also another one. Look at this time spent, boss. 830 hours.
Wow.
That's actually my student there. And the 830 hours goes back before this month, Let's click on somebody else just to give you a sense of some people who are doing a lot of work. Let's look at Halgilda, just so you can see this amazing chart here. So, okay, first we'll look at the score breakdown. We got games and analysis, tactics, middle game strategy, end game, and the opening. That's a pretty good pie chart right there. And then if we look at the time breakdown, dude is doing mostly games and analysis.
That's great.
And then here's another cool thing I really like. You can click on any of these, and then it'll give you the breakdown of what dude did, or you did if it was on your site, right? On your profile. And you can click back the cohort, and then if I click tactics, it shows me, it's just beautiful, Ben. Look at this thing. I've looked at it a bunch, Ben, but I'm like, this thing is beautiful.
Yeah, who made the website?
So we have a guy named Jack Stenglein who was in the program, and it all started because originally we were really looking for a calendar because we were really having trouble with people finding sparring partners. And so Jack took it upon himself. Really, we didn't even ask him. And he started building up that thing. And then he got obsessed, dude. He got obsessed and he just ran with it. And then we started working together. And now, he's really a part of the team.
That's awesome.
And, a lot of times it's just like me or Kostya or David will have a dream of like, what would be really cool is if we did X. And then, dude, within like 3 hours, X is now a reality. It's like, and so what does he did? He did the calendar, he did the games viewer, the scoreboard, and then we got profiles up, and then I'm going to show you the material in a second too. But before that, there's winning. So this is really cool, man. And I want to look at one more thing just to show you. Then with middle games and strategy, this is where our books are. And so you can mark either a book completed or maybe you've read half. There's like a progress bar that you can do. So for example, with most instructive games, dude has just started it, whereas it looks like probably, he's finished logical chess move by move. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so let me show you the material. This is really fun. Okay, so we've got books, and here's our recommendations for all the different levels, both in terms of general books and then tactics books and then endgame books.
Wow.
And then we have the sparring positions. And just because I've been working on it recently and I'm really proud of it, I'm going to show first this amazing thing here with the endgame algorithms. So let's go, say, to your cohort. And so we have different things that we want people, kinds of endgames we want you to really master. So let's click 12. And here we have a certain type of pawn endgame. And then we can play it out, right? And usually it's with increasing difficulty. And one of the amazing things that Ben did was here you can click it and it'll copy the fen if you wanted to use it on a site like chess.com or whatever, or you just wanted to study it. And here though, this is what I'm really pumped on, is that you can hit this thing, the challenge URL, and it will all you have to then do is send that challenge to whoever you're sparring with, and then boom, it starts a game up on Lichess. That simple. Boom, boom, boom. And so when you start doing a lot of these, it becomes really fast and easy instead of having to do like a bunch of typing into like what the fen's going to be, what the time control is going to be. This thing sets the position and the time control and just starts the game.
That's pretty cool.
Let me just show you a different one. And this is another one with rook and pawn. And this is the one I developed too. Now it starts getting hard, dude. I mean, even for me, this one's hard. Where you have to find the exact moves to dominate the black knight. Yeah.
Cool.
And then, the other thing we've got is that we're really building out now, actually, is then the idea of opening sparring, where I especially feel, and Kostya and David are with me, that Chessable is weird in that it's trying to get you to memorize stuff, and especially memorize stuff for lower rated players doesn't make any sense to me. Whereas I think it's far more interesting and important to get people to practice certain key positions, right? So in the same way that we have this, we're going to have opening sparring for repertoires that we develop, right? But people can develop their own repertoires and decide their own positions as well, of course, but that we develop and we're like, boss, these are the 5 or 6 positions you need to practice again and again to do your opening. And it makes it so much easier now that Jack has created this way for people to challenge each other.
Right. That's great.
Let me read some of these. Game Storming Twitch says, the selection of the best cohort is not always trivial. I picked 6 to 700, which is appropriate by my rapid chess.com rating, but low for my lead chess rating. I went anyway with the lowest option as it sounded the safest choice. Now, one thing actually we're going to do is I think a lot of times maybe Omar had this trouble. We have a ratings translator on our site, but now when people get to the scoreboard, we're going to force them to really get that translation right, because people are confused, like Game Storming Twitch is, that we have the obvious problem that there's various rating systems. Like Lead Chess, if you're rated 2300, that's like a 400 rating.
Yeah.
ChessDojo is different, FIDE is different, US, and then we have other people, they're using the German system, the English system, the Australian system, and so we're able to translate all of those. And on our onboarding, let me use that fancy term, on our onboarding now, we're going to make it clearer what you have to do. We're just basically going to tell you which cohort you should be in.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Eugene, or I'm going to say Eugene 987, not a member. I'm trying to understand how it works and if it can suit me. Right, well, that's why we're doing here. Okay, let me show you so also kind of cool I like is if we go to profile. So this is my profile, and then, people can write something, and, this is like if they want to reach out to me on Discord, here's my little Discord ID. And then let me show you some fun stuff here. So if I go activity, here's like my score breakdown. And then there's my time breakdown, dude. Oh, man. And, one thing that is another innovation. We've got so many innovations. This was actually an example of us just putting something out there, and Jack just instantly did it, was the idea that you could also track things that are non-dojo.
Oh, okay.
Right? So, for example, I give a lot of lessons. I do streaming online. All this stuff isn't part of the prerequisites of being part of the dojo, but it's not like it's dumb, like me watching the World Championship or me doing stuff with people. I wouldn't count this, for example, but I go over people's games from the cohorts and stuff like that. But anyways, I can click non-dojo, and you can see here's my Twitch and my lessons breakdown from basically the month of May.
Man, so you did perfect your chess. You're grinding.
Oh, dude, yeah. Let's go. Middle games of strategy. That was positional decision making that I read recently. And did you see that on the left? The perfect your chess somewhere.
Yeah, it's near the bottom.
Yes. If I go tactics. Dude, I read that book you recommended. Think Like a Super GM. That was great.
Yeah, it's fun, right?
And then I think it was going to be under openings, middle games, tactics. That's funny, actually. I think I took that out. So the Perfect Your Chess, I decided to take that off of my points because I read it too many years ago and I want to actually read it again. So I actually reversed that.
Okay.
Yeah. And then, right, here's like my games played, like how long did it take me to play the game? How long did it take me to do the annotations? Did I do some postmortems and stuff? That kind of stuff. Yeah. This is the green. Usually, one of the things with the postmortems, right, is like, you know, it's kind of hard and usually there's a game coming up and you want to rest. So sometimes it's only a quick chat, but we really wanted to stress the value of the postmortem. So that's why we put it in there. And it's true. It's like, for me as well, I'm like, after the game, a lot of times I don't have the energy, but I know that if I just talk to the opponent, I don't know, even if it's just 5 minutes, I'll get some kind of insight into what they felt the critical moments of the game were, right? And one thing, Ben, would be interesting in terms of your book, thinking about your book, is I think part of the genius, well, I'm flattering myself. The genius of the dojo, I'm flattering the dojo, is that, you know, when you're an improver out there and you listen to all kinds of podcasts and read Twitter, your mind kind of gets thrown in a million different directions about what you should be doing, right? Whereas if you just had a program that was telling you what to do, that you trusted to some degree, it would be far simpler, right? It would just the mental space.
Yeah, for sure.
It would clear up. Oh, man.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I mean, I struggle with it myself.
Well, you must especially struggle, man, because you've interviewed so many interesting people, and they all have interesting things to say, right? And I guess, you know, the true value for I'll review your book, and I think for me as a reader, the key question would be, am I going to find like valuable takeaways?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, I'll have to have you on the show again too after the book, and then we can kind of chat about it, and I'll do a review as well.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still finalizing it, but it's pretty in line with the dojo core principles, I can say.
Cool. So let's see. Let me just show you a couple things. Here's like the rating stuff. You can see the dojo score and the progress. These are all the things that I have to do. It's just where like basically where I go to find out what it is I still need to do. So yeah, let's just click tactics, for example. I've done a lot of it, but think like a super GM. Boss, I totally did that. Wait a second.
Man, get those points.
And actually this says I've done Perfect Your Chess. No, boss.
That's a different author. It's not Grabinski. It's the Ukrainian GM.
No, it's
Volokitin.
It's Grabinski and Volokitin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Grabinski is the coach, and Volokitin was the player. And I need to take this down though, because update that. I think I just clicked the wrong one. And this is Think Like a Super GM. I definitely did that. And that took me a good while, dude. I spent hours and hours on that. I would say 50 hours. Good. And one thing that we actually also just introduced, another example of us being like, oh, it would be cool if we could do this. And Jack was like, yeah, I got it. Is that we wanted to timestamp certain things. So, for example, Perfect Your Chess, I read about 3 or 4 years ago, and that's when it times out.
Okay.
So some things time out at different rates. All the books are basically every 3 years. Puzzle Survival is once a year. So, and that feels right to me. I want to do it once a year where I hit this top score. Very difficult to hit that score. And puzzle like the Polgar Mates is also 3 years, for example.
Okay.
And then the games would reset also after 3 years. And the like endgame algorithms are once a year. The development of the different openings once a year. But the sparring, I think, is every 2 years. Yeah. All right, dude, do you have any questions or thoughts, criticisms, ideas?
Well, you've got a couple questions in chat.
Okay.
Eugene, or I don't know if it's Eugene, Huge 987 saying, I'm not a member, trying to understand if it can suit him. And then
Yeah.
OS Graham saying they were on Dojo, but were struggling to find a partner to analyze games.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah.
respond to that?
Okay. So first, you asked, what does your ideal pie chart look like? And there's a couple different ones. It depends a little bit on the level of player, right? But in general, if that pie chart, let's go to mine, looks a little bit like this, and I would say the games and analysis should probably be a little bit larger. So, but in any case, the games and analysis should be the biggest one, between let's say 35 and 50% is a good looking pie chart. And my openings will probably be a little bit more. I generally only do opening prep right before a tournament, so I'll do some opening work, especially this summer, in preparation for the senior tournaments I'm going to. But that's a pretty good pie chart right there. You see some people, for example, especially in the lower cohorts, have been listening to your podcast and others, and they're just like, I'm doing tactics all the time. You look at their pie chart, it's all green. And that's not, especially, if you're just starting out, it's not the worst strategy, right? It's not the worst strategy. Eventually, though, you're going to have to start looking at your games. Okay, a couple other questions. Not finding people. I would say that if you post in the calendar, you will get people. And it's also a dream of the dojo. Let me go to the scoreboard here. We have this interesting stats page. Here we can see the active participants at 775. Is that the more active members we have, the dead weight like Ben Johnson just hanging out, lurking on some Google Doc, that doesn't count. The number of active people we have, and these are all people who have logged some kind of activity in the last month, that's where we are going to the more we get of active members, the more easily somebody is going to be able to find a sparring partner. And it's also a culture of getting people to post on that calendar. In general, though, it's been getting easier and easier. Yeah. Then we have another question. How do the weekly training programs fit into this? I was trying to put into action today, but 45 minutes is a little too sport to spar in. Will the weekly programs be updated more? So what he's talking about is the kind of one of the next level things is to not only say all the things that you should do, but to kind of lay out in a programmatic way how much and when you should do it. So for example, a lot of people were coming to us from like the fitness communities with like weightlifting, which tells you like on this day, boss, you do this. Next day you do leg day. Next day it's arm day. And this is the amount of time you put in. And that's definitely something that we are going to develop. And one of the key technical challenges, I think we're going to get it done fairly soon, is then developing that in an app form. So right now it's a website and it's not an app. But the app is coming, and those weekly programs will be a lot easier for us to institute once we get it into app form, I think.
Man, that's really impressive. You guys are crushing it.
And OS Graham's saying, can we see the calendar? Sure, let's check it out. So my calendar looks a little crowded here, but that's just because as an admin here, I have it's going to show me everything. Whereas let's say you came to the program and you were... And so when you just say nothing on the calendar, but the Twitch stuff is the stuff in green. Also, this shows us the middle game sparring. Oh, that's actually something I should add about the sparring. In addition to being able to post here, we have scheduled sparring now, and that usually happens on the weekend. And so this is 1,700 plus middle game sparring from position 15. That's a position in the middle game sparring. Let's click another one. It's kind of interesting. This is under 1,000, and here you have to convert with an extra queen, right? And this is all a ChessCom arena that happens from 1 to 3 this weekend, tomorrow, right? Here's another one. Let's click it. Middle game sparring, position 15. That's just another time for you to do the same thing. And then if I go, let's go click another set of cohorts. Let's just pretend we're talking about Omar now. So Omar should be, he should be, I think, in the 1,000 to 1,100 one. We'll click these, and then we can see this guy's ready to play Omar. And he's looking to play a classical game, which is the most important thing. Yeah, so there it is. Cool.
You got a couple more questions.
God, getting some questions. Do you have a view of dojo training participants by geography? We do have that somewhere. I don't know if it's on the site, but a good way to kind of see it is if I go scoreboard statistics, and then this is not quite what you're looking for, but when we go up, okay, here's a thing that has to do with chess improvement. At the lower cohorts, it's all online ratings. People are using ChessCom or Lichess. You can see 446 using, this is the preferred metric. So you come to the site and you tell us which one you use most, right? So we have mostly ChessCom and Lichess for the lower cohorts. Those are the blue bar for chess.com and the yellow bar for Lichess. But then as you move up the cohorts, what you can see is that more and more people are using over-the-board ratings. And so you can see here we got USCF primarily, but we also have FIDE. Most of the Europeans are using FIDE, English Chess Federation, Canadian, German, and then like there's all kinds of little ones out there, the Israelis and all kinds of other stuff, right? But it is mostly US and Europe, but we definitely have India and all kinds of other people are using the site as well. I think it's especially challenging for the Australians. Let me just say that. They're on some crazy time zone, man, and they have a real hard time organizing the sparring. Yeah. So, Ben, any thoughts on that? Also, I'm going to ask Ben about what he thinks the best puzzle books are, because we're going to talk puzzle books later today on Dojo Talks.
Sure, yeah, I've got some puzzle book recs, and yeah, that was my one question when I was thinking about it, because there was a period before I became a mummy where I was training, and like after our last walkthrough, I was doing the Polgar book, and I did feel that it was helpful, but I also felt it was somewhat rigid in terms of like this is what I needed to be doing in order to be able to click the box. So like where is that in terms of like I know you mentioned that you can like put in extra stuff, but like how much flexibility is there in doing the self-study?
Well, I tell people when they ask me, I would say don't be flexible. Follow the program. And the reason is you're just consuming too much extra mental space trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, which is valid.
One thing I'll say, like, I'm not a fitness person, but the fact now that your bro, Greg Shahada, and others encourage me to do CrossFit, it's just there. It's just like, this is what we're doing today, boss. There's no options. There's no like do it yourself. There's no like Jesse thinking forever like, well, am I going to do this today or that today?
Yeah.
No, boss. You just go and you do it.
No, there was value in that, for sure.
So let's go click, let's say Omar's cohort. We're having fun with Omar here. And we're going to click just somebody in here. And what we're going to ask is the question about the tactics. Okay, so let's go progress, tactics. Okay, so first we have various benchmarks like a puzzle rush and a puzzle survival. These are just ways you build it up. So that would also be the case for a higher cohort too. There'd just be a higher number for both the puzzle rush and the puzzle survival. This is learn chess the right way. And this is tactics time. So 2 books for a lower cohort to just get like the basics of tactics right. And then hilariously, I think we have a faux pas here. Oh, there's the Polgar Maze. Yeah, right there. So this person doesn't need to do everything in the Polgar Maze. They just need to get up to 650. It's only later in the Polgar Maze where it gets a little hectic, right? So I think especially around 1470 is my recollection of where things get really hard. And we actually stop it. Yeah, it's like the cohorts are building up to that 1470, because once you hit the 1470, you're going to be doing some real work. So you asked me, is there flexibility? Yes and no. So first of all, if you're doing tactics and let's say you get burned out on the Polgar mates, there's all this other stuff to do. But it is definitely true that you, Ben Johnson, need to finish the Polgar book. Is it hard? Yeah, dude. Yeah. Is it kind of rigid? In a way, but in a beautiful way, because it's a very clear thing that you have to do. And after a while, what starts to happen is you see the box of the king and the two moves, because there's two moves that you have to map out with every problem. And so you get this box of the king being able to move two squares where you can really start seeing the board. And that helps not only for the mates, but just board visualization in general. Where can the pieces move? And even though it's only two moves, the mate and twos, it's such a kind of big visualization, especially when things get hard.
Yeah.
So that's an example of where I'm sure a lot of people, especially people in a higher cohort like yourself, where you actually have to finish the book, where you're just like, oh, boss, I can't take it. And a lot of people too come to it from higher rated players, like David Pruess is a prime example. He's just like, oh, I've seen all these before, I don't have to do it. And it's just like, boss, follow the program. Follow the program. But he's too proud. He's so proud that he can't get over it. But this guy's finished it. And that's perfect, dude. I mean, that is progress. And then what will happen is when this person graduates, they will have more to do. Right? They'll have more. It won't be an overwhelming amount, but they will have more once they go up.
Gotcha. I see knows all in chat. Shout out, Mike. Or I don't know if you go by Mike, so I better call you Michael. But yeah, so I'm still dragging on my book, Michael. We're going to do a book recap together. So I'm looking at July or August at the earliest. I'll email you one of these days. But hope the Chicago Open went well.
Yeah, dude, we'll have you got to go on a book tour.
Yeah. I'm gonna as soon as I finish mine. Got to get back to reading other ones.
That's right. Okay, boss. Thoughts, criticisms, and what are your best tactics or puzzle books for us? And I'm gonna write that down somewhere whenever you're ready.
Okay. So. Sorry, just replying to knows all. So I think you have practical chess exercises in the cohort. Is that right?
Oh, I'm not sure about that, dude. Practical chess exercises.
Only my books were organized. Do you mind if I take a quick look and see if I can actually find
the
ones
I'm not sure I know practical chess exercises.
Ray Cheng.
Oh, no, I don't know that book. See, this is why I'm asking you.
Look that up. I won't be able to hear you for 1 minute, but I'll be right back.
All right, everybody, I'm Googling practical chess exercises intended as a sequel to the practical chess grammar. Okay, let's see here. There's actually several books. Let me write Cheng in there. Several books called practical chess exercises. Okay, practical chess exercises, 600 lessons from tactics to strategy. Ray Cheng, 2007. Okay, dude. Unfortunately, there's not a look inside on Amazon, but I've added that to our list, and I'm hoping to get like any number of books that Ben has got, and we're gonna.
I gave up. I'm not going to be able to find it on command, as they say. But yeah, what I like about that book, it's probably, I'd say ideally suited to say 13 to 1700, something like that. But what I like about that book is it's mixed themes without prompts. And some are positional, some are tactical, end game stuff in there. I don't know if you remember this little Lev Albert book, like 300 Positions or something.
Should I put that on the list too?
Actually, it's not a bad choice. Yeah, it's probably not engine approved. Like, there's probably some mistakes in it because it's from the 90s.
That's okay.
But
I think those are better in a lot of ways. Yeah.
But the one that I thought of, I mean, you're probably familiar with Coakley's books, but do you know, like, how well do you know this blue one in particular? I can't find the camera. I'm trying to hold it up. Oh, there we go.
Oh, wait. Oh, I don't know that, dude.
Oh, this is the book. I mean, for say 1400 range. Is this the right color?
Dude, you're a genius. You know all these books that I don't. So it's called Winning Exercises 1E4. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and of course it's designed for kids, but like Neil Bruce says, you can't get hung up on that. He said when Neil Bruce, this is in my book too, of course, Neil's famous story that he told Kostya, like where he hung his queen, and then he said he wants all the books with cartoons on the covers. But what I like about this book is it's also mixed themes, but there's mild prompts. So on each page, first 3 puzzles are mate puzzles, but you don't know exactly how many moves. The next 3 puzzles are material puzzles, so there's a way to win material. And then the bottom 3 puzzles are best move, so very mixed. You just find the best move.
Okay.
So this is another book probably from the late 90s, not engine check, but it's not like insanely advanced, so I'd say most of the answers are probably right. I'd say this one's ideally suited for 1200 to 1600 range.
Okay, dude, this is great, man.
And then the others that came to mind, you're probably like Helston's Mastering Chess Strategy, the Polgar book itself.
Well, now Mastering Chess Strategy, would you say that's a puzzle book though?
I mean, to me, it is.
Okay.
To me, I mean, the explanations are helpful, but I mean, you can just grind the puzzles and then read the explanations. I guess you might need to read the chapters in advance.
And then when you say the Polgar book, do you mean the Made in Two book or the different book?
No, the Made in Two, your book.
Yeah, okay.
The brick.
The brick, right? Okay. Cool, man.
And then, I mean, I guess at the more advanced level, there's stuff like Perfect Your Chess, and Forcing Chess Moves is good for, say, 2000 level, something like that. Oh, and of course, the one that you're familiar with from our last chat, Chess Tactics from Scratch.
Yeah, I did a review of that, yeah.
Yeah. Trying to think.
I'm pretty sure you were the one that told the dojo about that. Then I reviewed it, and then I was like, let's put that in the program, boss.
Yeah, I did, although I have to give a shout out to Steve Wolken. He's the one who reached out to me about it. So
That's pretty good. That's 8 books. If you want, you could add 2 more. Well, you probably want to put Think Like a Super GM in there, right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I love that book.
Now, do you want to put an order to these? You want to put an order?
Like rank them top 10?
Yeah, I know you're kind of against it, but if you want to.
Well, I'll put, since I'm shilling for this Coakley book, I'll put that number 1. I'll put Practical Chess Exercises number 2. I'll put The Brick number 3. Hold on, I feel like I'm forgetting. So.
They had 300 positions, Helston, Perfect Your Chess, Forcing Chess Moves, Chess Tactics from Scratch, and Think. Boss, you said Think Like a Super GM was like one of the best books of all time.
Yeah. Well, it depends on what level, because that one I would consider more advanced than these other ones that I'm recommending. Although they do, to their credit, they do a great job of like making it accessible for a pretty wide range of players.
All right. You want to put that 4?
Yes.
Okay. Chess Tactics from Scratch, you're going to say is 5. I'm guessing you're.
Yep.
And I'm guessing you're going to say Perfect Your Chess is 6.
Yeah, although I have to confess, I've only done a little bit of that book.
Oh, you chump. This is why you got to get on the program, man.
That's why I'm so weak. Yeah.
So you get on the program. And by the way, we have 9 books from you. So if you wanted to add another one.
Okay.
I'll tell you what. I'll tell you mine just to kind of.
Do you already have Forcing Chess Moves down?
Yeah, I have Forcing. You want to put that 7?
Yes.
I haven't read Forcing Chess Moves, by the way.
It's really good. It's pretty hard. But go ahead while I'm looking at my shelf. Go ahead.
Okay, so I got, I might change my mind too. This is just my tentative draft. So I have the two Augard books with calculation and positional play. I have Van Perlo's Endgame Tactics. I have the Kasparya on Domination in a Gazillion Endgames. The Polgar book, the old ECO Combinations book, Think Like a Super GM, The Best Move Janssen Hort, Perfect Your Chess, and this Kalinishenko book that is you can't get. So, but I'm still going to mention it because it's a great book.
Okay, I mean, obviously the Outguard books are great choices, and positional decision making is fantastic. I mean, if I'm going to put it 10th, it feels like it's
But
I feel like I've ruined the
decisional,
list. Yeah.
but decisional decision making. That's the one with Gelfand. That's not. I wouldn't say that's a puzzle book.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
There,
I
there's
thought you mentioned that one. Yeah, some of these are kind of hard to like. There's so much prose that it's hard to
right.
define.
And some people actually got mad at me for calling Chess Tactics from Scratch a puzzle book because dude does have like, well, there's puzzles at the end, but a large part of it is just talking about how to do tactics.
Yeah, no, it's a valid. I wasn't sure if that one belonged or not. Double Jared says it's a puzzle book. The other thing, like when Steve and I did that podcast about it, and I don't know if you shared this opinion, but the puzzles at the end, where they just present the extra 300 puzzles. To me, that part's not as good as the actual like chapter and then puzzles and chapter and then puzzles.
Yeah. I love this. He's looking at his books, man. He's looking at his book. And let me just tell you guys why he's looking at it. That dude, I'm certain, has a huge library because every publisher is sending him a copy of their book. There's no way he's going to read them all.
It's not as true as you would think, and that shows why the chess publishing business like needs to get their heads out of their stands. Like there's out of the sand. There's a couple who send me books, but not as many as would if I were running their media team. Not that my wife is dying for me to get more chess books in this house.
Now, do you have your own sacred space there in the house, or is that shared?
This is shared. It's a long story. We have a like one of these rooms over the garage that we built out. But basically, like the heating and cooling of it is so expensive that we end up just not using it. And the wireless was bad up there, so it originally was going to be my sacred space. But now this is predominantly my space. But sometimes my wife does Zoom calls down here if the kids are home.
Right. Okay, dog, you need to give me one more. You don't have to.
I mean, there's chess steps, of course. You can just like list them all. They're fantastic.
Now, okay, let's talk about chess steps, dude. I feel like, by the way, I want to really say where you are helpful for our program is you are much more fluent, aware of books that beginners might use. Like a lot of this stuff you're in, winning chess exercises, 1E4, I have no idea.
Right.
I have no idea. Okay, chess steps. Who wrote that, dude?
So it's I am Cor van Wijgarten and Rob Brunia. It was it's this Dutch wholesale curriculum that's supposed to take you from a beginner to about 2200, and it's like many puzzles per level. So it starts out with basically how the pieces move, but it's supposed to give you sort of holistic understanding of like board facilitation, like visualization skills. So it's some of it's mixed themes, some of it's arranged by tactics, some of it's positional, some of it's tactical. But basically, they have 6 different levels, step 1 through step 6, and they have like teacher manuals that come with them that are like extremely sort of they're about the didactics of teaching. They're not like a pleasant read. So so people will hear the recommendation and then get the books, but then the manuals are kind of dry, and then it's like just the puzzles. But the puzzles themselves are works of art. I mean, they're very carefully chosen and pretty well arranged for their level. Although some people do say, and I agree with this, like when they have positional puzzles mixed in with tactical puzzles, to me the levels are not exactly right. one can be harder than the other. But the Chess Steps books are amazing.
Okay. All right, I'm
And
gonna run through how I just ordered your books. And I know you're kind of hesitant to order them, and it makes sense too especially like for example, when I'm doing my puzzle books, I'm kind of orienting it on myself, whereas
yeah,
you are oriented on like this is for this level, that kind of thing. But anyways, because it's a ranking show later, I gotta rank them.
okay.
All right, so here we go. Place number one, we got Winning Exercises by Coakley.
Yeah, by the way, the E4 is just a sticker. That's not in the title.
Oh, that's
I don't
not
know
in
how
the
that,
sticker.
yeah, it's just called Winning Chess Exercises.
I think it's not the dumbest thing actually to do one based on like openings, but
Right, that's true. Yeah.
okay, but Winning Exercises, two practical chess exercises. You can change your mind. I'm just running this through and then you can change your
Okay.
mind if you want. Polgar Maiden 2. Then we got Think Like a Super GM, Chess Tactics from Scratch, Perfect Your Chess, Forcing Chess Moves, Helston, Chess Steps, and then 10 is 300 Positions Albert.
Yep, that sounds reasonable.
Okay, cool, dude. That was really helpful. And so what we'll do later is, me, Kostya, and David are going to do a top 10 list, and then we do an average, and I'm going to just use yours, dude. I'm going to use
Okay.
yours. And when we did that best books kind of show, that really helped me because you turned me on to Think Like a Super GM and Chess Tactics from Scratch. And so I ended up actually reading those books, and that was definitely helpful. I mean,
Nice. Yeah,
both,
that's why I need to keep doing these book recaps because it keeps me reading books beyond just like the people I'm interviewing. Um, but yeah, and this one I will say it's last I checked, it's kind of expensive. Like it's like $40 or something.
Oh,
And
okay.
and you can get, practical chess exercises you can get for like $12 on Kindle, I think. But it's not quite like the Polgar book in terms of how long it'll keep you busy, but it'll keep you busy for a long time. Like
Right.
it's a lot of puzzles. But it is a bit expensive.
Fair enough. I mean, my book that I'm going to rate highly, the Kalinichenko book, it's like maybe $200.
Right. Yeah. No one's getting
So
that.
no one's getting that, dude. But I still got to put it up there. It's a great book. What books did you read when you were a kid, dog?
Masters of the Chessboard, 60 Memorable Games. My
Yeah.
System, True to the Cliche, was one of my first books. Bobby
Yeah.
Fischer Teaches Chess was one of my first books.
Yeah.
Let's see. I mean, opening books. I was really into the C3 Sicilian, Mastering the King's Indian from that series with the like white and purple on the cover. Yeah. Oh, 500 Master Games.
What
You know
about
that
what
one?
about puzzle books from back in the day?
I didn't do a lot of puzzle books back in the day.
Okay.
Probably should have.
I remember there was like that ECO combinations book. At the end of every informant, they had combinations that I think eventually made it to the back of that ECO combinations book. There was that 1,001 checkmates or 1,000 more traps that was really popular back in the day by Reinfeld.
Yeah.
There
I've
was
heard
like
that book's surprisingly hard.
there was Test Your Chess IQ,
I remember that one.
but those books were kind of hard to come by. And one of the reasons, by the way, I was the one who pressed us to do this for the talks. This topic is one. It's great to just find, your opinion on books like this that we might bring into the program. That's number one. But also, two, we're developing our own problem database using the dojo games. Like people are submitting positions that they thought were interesting where there was a best move. And so we're creating a database. And kind of the interesting question to me is like, well, what makes a good puzzle book? And one of the things I feel strongly about is that it's not found by the computer. Like if it's some game, like what Augard does, I have a problem with is like he's going through a lot of Super GM games and then the computer says, oh, dude missed this, and then that turns into a puzzle. But like
Right.
if some Super GM missed it, dog, I'm not that interested, Whereas if somebody found it in a game, or maybe they found it in like their own analysis, but not with the computer, That's far more interesting to me as a problem than something that was computer generated. And so like a lot of the books that you're mentioning like are pre-computer,
Right.
right? And that's more interesting to me. And sometimes it's wrong. So, for example, the best move by Janssen Hort, I found a number of positions that was just wrong.
Oh, for
But
sure.
but
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it's in fact it makes it more interesting because then I can kind of like debate. I can have a debate. I'm like, oh, I don't know, I don't agree with this one, boss. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you, Jesse, because with my book, so basically the prose is written, and I need to go back and put in a bunch of chess puzzles. And in some cases, there's something fairly organic, but in other cases, it's like I'm mentioning someone, and I just don't want it to be all words.
Yeah.
So I'm basically going to try to find puzzles from people I mentioned, like Knows Knows All, who I did an adult improver interview with, sent me a few games that I haven't looked at yet, by the way, Michael. But like, how do you think I should present the puzzles? Should it be only tactics? Like, I definitely want to give rating guidelines. And unlike some other books that I like Ramesh's book, for example, he gives rating guidelines that are like 500 points too low. But I'm like, do you have an opinion on A, should I have the whole game in the answer section? B, like, should it just be tactics or should there be positional puzzles? Does it need to be something where there's only one best move? Like, what do you think I should do there?
Well, first of all, I want to say I'm kind of surprised that you're doing puzzles in the book. And I'm like, that's going to take you, that's going to make your book longer and harder to produce.
Yeah, well, I'm not publishing it, so.
Well, you're the one, doing it though. I mean, you're
Yeah,
doing the work.
yeah, it probably won't be a ton of puzzles. I'm actually waiting for feedback from New in Chess about how many to shoot for. But yeah, because there's also like, okay, I'll show you one if I can find it. Can I share my screen or no?
Let's see. Oh, it's hard. I have to. I'm not a super streamer. But how about maybe send it to me?
Okay, done. Like thinking inside the box. I of course read Thinking Inside the Box, but I can't remember how he presents them. Michael, can you remind me?
So your question while we're doing this is how best to present a puzzle.
Yeah, and hold on, I'll find you the right chapter. Here we go. And this is one of the chapters that mentions you, so you're going to get a sneak peek because I'm just going to send you the whole chapter. Wait, is it? Yeah, okay.
I should get off.
So am I sending this to you in Zoom chat?
Zoom or Twitter, whichever one you want.
Okay. Oh, and I might need to share it with you, which I'll do. Yeah. Actually, let me do that before I send it. Sorry, bear with me. But okay, so I'll talk about it while I do this so that people watching aren't tortured. So basically the setup is David Howell, when I interviewed him, and he also discussed this in a DVD he did with Ginger GM, he played a tactic very similar to Fischer's famous Rook F6 against Benko. So it's in the context of discussing the classics, where he says, like, and I'm sort of debating, like, back in the day they said you had to study the greats, but these days there are kids who have never studied them, like Irigasi, like Narayanan, his trainer, did an interview where he said when he started working with him when he was already like 2,500, he didn't know any classic games.
Right.
So it's pretty clear at this point that, like, the received wisdom has been throughout the years. You need to study the classics, but it's basically not true, and you still need to access the moves. You still need to learn the patterns, but you don't necessarily need to know who made them. So anyway, Howell had this story of knowing the Fischer-Benko game and finding a similar theme. So the question is, and sorry, I'm finally sending this to you, should I present it as a puzzle? Or should I, it's to everyone, but it's just you. Or should I just show the move? Especially with Howell's, because a lot of people know the Fischer one. So I just sent it to you in Zoom chat.
Okay.
And it's just, I mean, actually, it's just a diagram, but what I should do is I should just send you the chess games link. But now you have the chapter, Jesse, for you to read later.
Okay, cool.
Um,
Oh, this is
but
looking great, dude. Yeah, yeah.
thanks. I mean, the diagram I just cut and pasted because that's for the publisher, and eventually I'm going to have to put it in ChessBase. But let me find. So the game is Howl Bitalzadeh.
Yeah, yeah, I'm looking at it here, right.
Okay, so move 20.
One thing about that's a nice move in knight f6. One thing about puzzles that I think I understand is that now with modern technology, one of the nice things you can do, and Say Chess has been creating his own books using this kind of idea that we have, one of the people on the tech side of the Chess Dojo is DM Hoki, and he has a dream that's similar, which is when we do our problems, to create it in a format where you have one page is the problem and then the next is the answer. Now, for a traditional chess publisher, that's a real problem because that's a lot of waste of paper.
Right.
But if it's on Kindle, right,
Yeah.
or on the computer, not a problem, right? So that's one of the challenges then you would have in terms of the presentation, because that kind of reading experience is probably the easiest, especially if like you're on an airplane or whatever. That's the way the best move usually works too, though it was two answers on a given page. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of I guess if I try to answer your question, it's a technical question, like of just how do you do it, right?
Yeah, and also, do I just show the answer or do I present it as a puzzle? Um,
Right.
like with this knight f6.
Yeah, I definitely think you should present it as a puzzle.
Okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, I see your comments now, Michael, that Agard lists the puzzles at the beginning. Yeah, Willie Hendricks likes to do that too. And I do find it to be a good. And then Willie Hendricks will like come back to it in the chapter. Yeah, I could consider that, but the problem is this is a very clear example of like a story and a relevant puzzle, but more often I'm going to be stretching a bit in terms of like the puzzles that are contained.
Yeah. Well, this looks great, man. And I just want to say, when I imagined your book, I imagined more of like this kind of prose where you're just talking to people and getting, oh, there's me.
Yeah.
Did I get a quoted here? Talking to people, getting their insight, and then maybe, yeah, something like this, the summation kind of
Yeah.
thing, the takeaway. And the puzzles themselves, I think honestly, I would say go light on the puzzles.
Okay.
Because
That makes my
imagine
job
a
easy.
lot of people, what would be perfect for this book, for example, is if they got it as an audiobook,
Yeah, it's going to be an audio.
right? And that would be like, especially so many of your listeners would love to have it in audiobook form. That's me too. I'm on some drive. I want to listen to this in an audio form. And then that it's a problem when you start doing positions. For us, for example, when we do the podcast, a lot of times Pruess is like, let's talk about some game. I'm like, no, boss.
Right.
we are just audio. We are not doing any positions, because then if you're just, you can't do it as an audio. Yeah. But you could do some puzzles, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I think what you did there with the Howl example.
Yeah, it's just there's not that many examples that are that clear cut, unfortunately. So,
Right. But that's a nice example.
yeah.
It's a classic pattern too. Yeah, it's interesting. I feel like one way to talk about it is to say that when you think about kids now doing the classics, in a certain sense, the classics now have to include Stockfish and AlphaZero.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
part of the horizon now that they're on. And those engines or minds or whatever you want to call them are definitely part of their chess experience, right? And worthily so, right? Those things are developing new ways of thinking about the game. And you have to those kids need to think about chess in an engine-y kind of way. Yeah. Well, cool, dude. That was great. That was great.
Yeah.
Now I'm hoping we get you on there, buddy. I think you're probably going to be messing with this book for the next couple months, and probably not going to be on the scoreboard soon. But still,
I'm supposed to finish it by the end of June, so we'll see. And
Okay.
I do want to get back to work. So that's another argument for fewer puzzles, because the main thing I need to do is put puzzles in.
Yeah. Leave the puzzles. This isn't a puzzle. This is just a nice example.
Okay, but that's what I'm asking. Like, basically, I would be turning stuff into puzzles instead of just having examples. I mean, because this obviously this knight f6 could be a puzzle, but like,
no puzzles, boss. No puzzles for what you're doing. And
especially because also, like, I'm weak. If I puzzle, if I present puzzles, then I have to, like, make sure I get the explanations right. It's like beyond my pay grade. So okay, that's good to know. So examples, but not puzzles.
Exactamundo, yeah.
And there's there's references to famous, like, postmortems where, like, Ulf is talking about analyzing with Korchnoi. Mm-hmm. So you're saying, like, so in that case, I'll probably show a snippet from the game, but I'm saying I don't need to find what was the best move. I can just, like, show a position, a key moment.
Right. And, for the audiobook for this position, you can just talk about blocking the F-pawn.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Sure.
Okay. Well, thanks for the feedback, and thanks, Michael in chat and Chess Pawn as well.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, dude. And you are, dude, I will give you some props. You are a repository when it comes to chess literature, dude. Especially a kind of chess literature that I feel like I've read a lot of chess books, but I'm not familiar with, like, the winning chess puzzles and all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this I know from back when I used to teach kids classes, like,
right,
and because back in the day there were so few choices. This was pre-Puzzle Trainer, but I actually hadn't thought about that book in a long time. But it's really good because of the mixed themes.
Yeah. All right, man. I think I'm gonna hang it over. I'm gonna leave the stream open because I think Kostya's coming on.
All right. Shout out Kostya. And yeah, good to chat, Jesse. Thanks for watching.
Thank you. I really enjoy talking and just hanging out. And we'll be back at 1. Kostya's on now, I think, and then I'll be back on with the boys at 1 to talk about the puzzle books, where we're gonna give Ben Johnson's books some points in our overall dojo score for the best puzzle books.
Okay. Prediction that Kostya won't know this Blue Coakley book.
I didn't know it, dude. I didn't know it.
Okay. Although his friend Alex King definitely knows it. But all right. Anyway, good to chat as always, Jesse.
Yeah, good to talk to you too.